Hi, everybody. It's me again. It's quarter to 12, and you know me. I just go live whenever I have a thought in my head, wherever it comes from. I don't know. I was thinking about Virginia Giuffre today, and maybe it's a good thing that all of the Epstein stuff is coming out, you know, because I was just thinking of the victims having to see his face over and over and over again. Um, Anyways, I remember people talking about the sound of freedom. Oh gosh, it's got to be more than 3 years ago now. Anyways, it says there are more humans trapped in slavery today than in any other time in history, including when slavery was legal. Where do they get these facts from? Where do they get the stats from? And then I started to think, why is everybody having a bloody oh, hang on a second. Oh, Sean Atwood said it best today. And it was ironic because I was going live the same time he was. Hi, it's me again. I'm getting a little tired now. It was funny. I went live. I made like a 3-minute video saying, it's Virginia Giuffre that brought all of this stuff forward. And then I was thinking to myself, why did Epstein take a picture of Virginia, sorry, of Virginia and Andrew? Why would he do that? To give her a little playing card down the road? Who knows? Who knows? You wouldn't think that he would give a 17-year-old a camera to take a picture of Prince Andrew. What? He didn't think that she'd have the gumption to do something about it after everything she learned from these monsters and became a good, mother, you know? And Sean Atwood was talking about the Epstein files and every time it comes out how heinous they are. And I just think it's great that we're talking about it, but what do we do about it? I was Sound of Freedom here. I don't know where they get these stats from. Then it started making me think of something that starts with Dodortion, the woman's right to choose, and I only do lives and shorts, so I'm sorry if I haven't mentioned anybody's name yet. I will. I want to stay on track, or I'll lose my train of thought so easily. Um, but yeah, but what I was saying about the elites, and I was watching and researching a lot about serial killers, and there's less and less and less, but yet there's more and more and more corruption with people that have money. So I almost think it's like anybody who makes it as far up the food chain as the Clintons or Jeff Bezos, like, what do you do with all that money? Instead of having charities, why don't they just go to people's doors and give it to people? I'll never get that. But anyways, these stats about SA abuse, okay? And if you don't read Virginia's book, you should, because I can't even talk about what I really want to talk about because I'll get censored and stalked off. This just blew me away. Human trafficking is $150 billion a year business. The United States, the United States is one of the top destinations for human transportation. You can't even say the words. Yeah, right. Sean Atwood spent 7 years trying to expose these people and got his channel nuked. I wonder why. And it's the largest consumers of child XES. That's why Trevor and I refuse to have people on this channel that are young. Um, there are any young kids out here. Don't go for the modeling business. Don't go for the singing thing. If you want to do that, do it in your community. It's not what Sean was saying was what I said about an hour after Sean Atwood and Andrew Gold went live, who I've been watching for years. And I had a story that I wrote in to Andrew Gold, and this was a long time ago. This was probably 5 years ago. So I would have been 49, maybe 54 now. Um, I will read all the comments afterwards, and you know what? The comments don't reappear on the live replay. So what I was going to say is, okay, let me just try to get my thought patterns. My wires are a little crossed right now. They're going like this, crisscross, crisscross. All this stuff is making me dizzy. Trump. He's a narcissistic egomaniac with no respect for anybody. If I have to hear anything more about Trump over the next 3 years, I really think I'm going to puke. Even people who supported him are not supporting him anymore. Ha ha, we were right. And I'm not a Democrat, I'm from Canada. If you've never been here before, I'm from Canada. Okay? Here's me. Okay? I'm a Canadian, not American. So I think what happens is, I think that these elites, they get so caught up in everything. Jeff Bezos, he starts Amazon, right? He makes great money doing that. But that's not enough. That's not enough for him. So then he has to keep monopolizing and monopolizing, monopolizing. And then people try to curry to the rich, I suppose. That's what people do. Not me, or I wouldn't be here. No, not that there's anything wrong with where I am. I'm just saying, what do we do about all of this? And then I was thinking, okay, if human trafficking is $150 billion a year business that's surpassing the drug business, then why is it in the US and why is the US about pro life and pro choice? Where do all those kids go missing? What about all the kids that are abused? What about all the kids that aren't wanted? They turn out traumatized. And a woman doesn't, and a family doesn't have a right to choose that. And I'll tell you one thing is if a woman has had to make that decision, it's the worst decision in the world to make. It's a sin, and no woman wants to make it. But then you hear about these adoption stories where I don't want to say anything wrong, but I guess what I'm trying to say is what is up the Republicans' supposed butt with abortion? So what? We women can go back to coat hangers again? Because that's the diabolical truth. And I think what happens with these rich people and where this is about serial killers and how that fits into rich people and reptiles, as you were. as it were, is that rich people get to the height of success. They've got so much money, and then where are they going to get their kicks? Then they just keep pushing the envelope. It's like giving a kid too many toys. It can happen to adults too, because guess what? We don't really change that much. Think about who you were as a kid. Everything about you as a kid formed who you are today. You might have made decisions differently because of your childhood, or you might have repeated patterns. Hopefully, you haven't repeated the pattern. But what I'm saying is Donald Trump, a big fucking buffoon that we have to look at for 3 more years, who won't release all of the Epstein files because he's not in them, or he doesn't want any part of himself in them. I don't even believe there's a Democrat and a Republican Party anymore. I really don't. You know what I looked back on today? The footage of Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump in, what was it, 2015, 2016? Was I in the wheelchair during that time? No, I wasn't. It was in 2016. That's how I figure out my timelines. Watch the debate between Trump and Hillary Clinton. Oh, there was definite contempt between the two of them, but it's because they're alike, you see. If you have contempt for somebody, it's usually because they are like you. How can you have contempt for somebody you don't know? I find that really interesting. But people that are like me, it's sort of like, okay, that's me. Like, I know your shtick. You talk, and you don't make any sense. I know because I'm like that. Okay? Who are you? Who are you? I don't know. It's my committee. I'm just saying, I think that there is a connection in my little pea brain, and this is just all my silly little thoughts. I think that human trafficking and it being in the United States and it surpassing drugs, that's why the States doesn't want women to have abortions. More babies. And if what Sean Atwood says is true, God save us all. I'm kind of like Andrew Gold, where I can't believe that people do those things, because I think that we think always through our own lenses. But if you think about, like, that, I was talking about that Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. But what I don't understand is the system's so fucked, especially with the jails. Like in the States, and they're probably the same in Canada. I don't know. I want to go to Kingston and interview, but I think you have to be an interviewer or like a journalist to do those types of things. But I think the only thing you should really be trained for is surgeries, being a doctor. You don't want to, anyways. I also think they're trying to desensitize us, because I watched this really other strange movie and I can't remember what it was called. Oh, it's called Skull. Skull, with Kate Hudson and the one from The Handmaid's Tale, Moss. Elizabeth Moss. And it was about beauty. And you know how when women especially, and I'm 54, so I know. I'm there, you know. I can't even believe it, but This is always I always lose my train of thought because I do this impromptu because I get this brilliant idea in my head. Like I'm trying to connect like why is the buffoon still in office? Why is this picture of Andrew coming out and there's a woman on the floor and he's looking up? And does he know there's a camera in front of him? What was wrong with that young woman? Where is she? And who's her name? What's her name? And you know what? Why isn't he being held accountable? Why are none of the men being held accountable? I wish Virginia Giuffre could see this today. And I'm probably one of the only Latoons, like crazy Looney Tunes, that thinks that Epstein is still alive and well in Israel. I didn't realize that Israel was built like a fortress. I had no idea. Anyways, I just got to thinking human trafficking is exceeding. It's going up and pornography is going up like 5,000% over the last 5 years. That's disgusting. Thank you, Larry Flint. Like, I don't know if that was such a good idea. Free speech at that. There's certain limits. I think people should be able to talk about whatever they want to talk about as long as it within reason. But yeah, go watch Sean Atwood and Andrew Gold if you're interested in these topics because they are very good conversationalists with each other and their friends and their English. Sean Atwood, Andrew Gold, Heretics. Yeah, and that movie, The Sound of Freedom, I watched it tonight and it just, sometimes when you watch something when it's all the hype, and then you take a look back at it again. And there were so many scenes that I didn't remember from that movie. And then I heard, remember when this movie came out, people were tearing down Tim Bullard's story because of some reasons, allegedly. I don't know. That's scary though, but that's what I think it is. And then you hear things about like Gloria Steinem being a CIA operative, and it's like, oh my God. Gosh, you're not supposed to say the Lord's name in vain. I apologize. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. That's what was on my mind. That's the way I make these videos. It's just me. Okay, have a good day. It's February the 2nd, almost. Oh, it is. Happy February the 2nd. That you'll have to rewatch this to think if you can rewind my mind. Figure out what I was trying to say. Ask AI what the video is about before you watch it. I used to be so good at public speaking, but that was because there was an audience in front of me. It's very different in front of the camera, but I can always delete these right after they're done anyway, you know what I mean? So I know what I was going to say. This movie called Skull was about the beauty business, and it was with Kate Hudson and the one from The Handmaid's Tale, Elizabeth Moss. Now, if you remember from watching Elizabeth Moss, like 7 or 8 years ago, when The Handmaid started, what year was that? 2017, 2016, and it just finished this year. And Nick got blown up in a plane. It was so dramatic at the end. Anyway, so this movie Skull. Remember how tiny Elizabeth Moss was? Well, you can't even say the word TAF now because God forbid. But they either made her look really, really wide, because I'm just always so used to being so skinny. And I guess I'm lucky that way, but too bad about my face, right? Okay, so And too bad about me trying to hold a straight thought. So who do I care about what Elizabeth Moss's weight was? But they tried to make her look big and frumpy because she's not. She's a beautiful woman. And Kate Hudson was in it, Gloria Hahn's daughter, and she's just hilarious in it, and good at being a biatch. And it was about the beauty business and how, like if I wanted to look like this for the rest of my life, I could go into this. Apparently, the theory of this movie is that lobsters live forever. So basically what happens is you can go on this like tank and it's this like futuristic style world, like a dystopian world. And it goes around and around and around and around and then it stops your aging. But what the happens is the younger that you are, your skin rebuilds every year, right? As human beings. So in this horror movie, one of the characters turns into a lobster because or yeah, a lobster. Yeah, the bottom feeders. You know, they used to be used for fertilizer in the 1920s and 30s and now you have to go to a restaurant or, your local fishery or market and pay $40 for one lobster. Yes, that's how well we've done at raping our oceans. Okay, that's my randomness for tonight. But no, really, go back and this horror movie was about the beauty business and basically how this woman turned into a lobster. But it was so gross at the same time because of the rebuilding of the skin. The younger that you are and the older that you are, the more skin you build and the less collagen. That's where our faces start to sag. And that's why I'm so thankful that my friend brought me this because our faces are hanging over our phones. Isn't that a scary thought? And then in the accountant, too, these people are looking in other people's computers, like right through here if they hack in. Everybody would be bored to death if they hacked into my computer, let me tell you, because first of all, I don't have one. And secondly, they wouldn't find anything because there's nothing to find. This is disturbing though. Trump, human trafficking, abortion. Now it's all kind of making sense to me. Like all these kids. Yeah, anyways, check out Sean Atwood and Andrew Gold. They were very influential in my lives at one point, but when you get to know somebody after a while, my friend Ian always used to say, familiarity builds contempt. Ian, that's not even the truth. Distance breeds contempt, and not keeping one's word breeds contempt, not familiarity. Anyways, those are my thoughts on February the 2nd at 12:09 at night. All right, good night, everybody. Have a great night. Yep.